Okay, so we're still on day number 24. And I apologize about that, guys. A call came in and knocked me off. But as I was saying earlier, so in the Garden of Eden, you have the serpent comes in, and the serpent gets Eve's ears. And when he gets Eve's ears, literally, he gets access into Eve's life. He gets access. He gains entryway. And notice, when did he do this? He did this outside of the presence. And now that could have been the physical presence of Adam, or that could have been the emotional presence of Adam. But somehow or another, he was able to gain entryway, access to Eve. And that access allowed him to pull Eve away from, to pull Eve from under the leadership of Adam. And so now you have Adam, a man who was created to lead with no one to lead. No, because now leadership has been, and I want you all to see this, because this is important. Ephesians 5:33 part D. Listen, it's not the cornerstone of our relationships. It's not the cornerstone of our marriages. But I think that if we would get this, I think that we would get a whole lot of other stuff a whole lot sooner than we get it. Listen at what happens. Because it's not just the fact that the serpent now is leading Eve. It's not just the fact that the serpent gained entry into Eve's life. Look at what happens. And I want to read this. It's in Genesis chapter 3. The serpent has entryway already into Eve's life. And this is where you see my next point at. This is Genesis 3 verses 6. I'm going to do 6 and 7. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, here's what happened. She took of the fruit and she ate it. Okay, that's kind of expectant. Because the enemy has fed Eve a story, has changed Eve's mind. Eve heard the instruction. She repeated it to him earlier. So she knew the instruction. There's no question about that. Eve knew the instruction. I don't care if she wasn't there when God gave the instruction. Somehow or another, she knew the instruction, and she was able to repeat the instructions back to the enemy. Listen, and this is why I didn't intend to make this point right here, but this is why we can't just hear the instructions of God and move on. No, we've got to put the instructions in practice, because what you hear, if you don't put it into practice, you're going to end up losing it. What you hear, if you don't put it into practice, you're going to end up losing it. And now Eve heard the instructions, because whether she heard it from God or whether Adam told her what the instructions were, she knew the instructions. See, it's not enough to know what God is saying. We've got to put what he has said into practice, because if we don't put it into practice, we're going to forget about it. You know, the word of God talks about, being a man or a woman who goes into the mirror and you look at yourself. You know you're wearing glasses. You know you got on earrings or whatever. You know exactly how your face looks in the mirror. And as soon as you get out the mirror, you forget how you look. You forget what you got on? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. If what you hear God say, you don't begin to put into practice, oh, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it, and you're going to forget what he said in the critical moment that you need it most. Genesis 3:6. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. Here is where leadership is lost. Last part of verse 6. She also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Now that may not seem like a big thing. So what? Eve ate of the tree and then took it to Adam, and Adam ate it. Both of them ate it. Yes, both of them ate it. But did you see what happened? The serpent led Eve away from the leadership of Adam. And in that process, Eve became the leader of Adam, because Eve now takes what she has gotten illegally, per se. She takes what she has gotten, and now she takes it to the one who was created to lead and says, here, this is what you need to do. Eve is now the leader. Here's Adam. Here's Eve. Here's the serpent. Remember we talked earlier about realignment and us getting back in the place of God, getting back under the structure of God. Listen, to everything that God has created and set up for our good, for our protection, for our everything, the enemy has duplicated that process all out of order. God's process is God, man, woman. Do you see what happened in the garden? Where God was, the serpent placed himself. Where Adam was, the serpent reversed the order and placed Eve there. And where woman was, the serpent demoted Adam, took Adam out of the place of leadership. And now Adam was walking in an element that he was not created for. He was not created for. And listen, because man was created to lead, whenever leadership has been taken away, regardless as to why it's been taken away, regardless as to how it's been taken away, because of the fact that man was created to lead. This isn't a title, or anything like this. God created man to lead, not to be led, but to lead. And listen, when leadership, when that thing that a man has been created to do, when that thing is no longer available, or when that thing, when he no longer has that leadership, then he will make himself available to anything else that will allow him to lead. And women, when I say that, I'm not just talking about sex. I'm not just talking about extramarital affairs or anything like that. I'm not just talking about sex. Sometimes he runs to his job. He runs to his friends. He runs to video games. He runs to whatever and whoever allows him to do what he was created to do. Ephesians 5:33b, see to it that you respect your husband. Wives, us, Women, us. See to it that you respect your husband. Why is this important? This is important because God is saying, I cannot have, and I will not have, the same thing that happened in the garden to happen in your home. I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. God does not want it to happen. We don't want it to happen. And in order for it not to happen, then we have to take what God is instructing us. And listen, this might be one of those ones that you got to go back to God and go in your closet and say, okay, you got to show me some more. Respect. Ephesians 5:33 part B. Respect isn't about yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you sir, or thank you ma'am, or please, or any of those things. It's not about the niceties. It's about leadership. It's about leadership. And respect is to allow your husband to lead. Allow your husband to lead. Why? Because he was created to lead. And when leadership is taken away, and please hear this, leadership being taken away does not mean, well, instead of me having his last name, I'm going to give him my last name. No. Do you know that the center of a man, the place that is most vulnerable to a man, is his ego? A man's ego. It is the center of who he is. And from out of that center comes not just the need to lead, but the desire to fulfill that thing that he was created for. A man's ego is the place that he hurts most. It is the place that is easily shattered and can be easily broken. So now leadership, or taking away a man's leadership, understand, it's not always the reality of it. A man feels in his ego. So when a man feels like leadership has been taken, he will end up in a place, he will turn to something or to someone that allows him the opportunity, be it real or fake, to lead. And I said earlier, when a man feels like leadership has been taken away from him, he will find something or someone. We have been told, and I'm sure you all have heard this so much, but we have been told, well, number one, his turning away or his going away is not always about sex. Matter of fact, it's not about sex. A man's ego is to him the same that our emotions are to us. Our emotions, that is the center of who we are. That's where we feel the most. That is where we are most vulnerable. We have emotions. He has ego. They're the same thing, called by different names, but they serve the same purpose. Ego in man is the same thing as emotions in a woman. So now, infidelity. Listen, and this is not a conversation about making an excuse for nobody. Because listen, man, I don't care. I don't care What has happened? You need to turn to God. You need to seek God. This is not a conversation of excusing your behavior at all. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. No, sir. No, sir. We don't excuse bad behavior. You're responsible. I don't care, and this may sound harsh, but I don't care how you feel. I do not care how you feel. No. I don't care how someone made you to feel. You are responsible. You are accountable for your own actions. And so when you go out, regardless as to what has happened, and you go out and you make bad choices, poor decisions, no excuse. No excuse. No excuse. No excuse. We do not excuse infidelity. We don't excuse bad behavior, poor choices. We don't. We don't. And this is an hour, this is a season, this is a time where you need to take accountability. You need to be responsible. You need to be responsible. And you need to be accountable for your own actions. Okay? And that's not just for men, because men are not the only people that cheat. Men are not the only people that make poor choices. Women do it too. Wives do it too. But what I'm saying to both husbands and wives, what I say to one, I say to all. No matter what any person has done to you, do you know that you're not going to be judged? You're not going to have to give an account for nothing that nobody does. If somebody does me wrong, and I don't care what the wrong is or how wrong the wrong is, do you know what I have to give an account for? What I'm responsible for? The same thing you're responsible for. You're responsible for your own actions. You're responsible for your own actions. We're being honest. We're telling the truth. Because we can't move past some things until we tell the truth. Until we get honest, real honest with ourselves. So this is not an excuse, the devil made me do it, or whatever you want to say, or she made me do it, or he made me do it. No, you did it. You did it. And if you did it, then you're in the perfect place for repentance. And repentance isn't, I ain't going to do it no more. And then, 3 months later, 3 days later, 3 hours later, you do the, no. We have to stop making excuses. Remember when we started this, I said in this process, we're calling sin, sin. Because if we don't call sin, sin, then sin will become acceptable. Sin will stay acceptable, and sin is not acceptable. That has nothing to do with hope and healing. Okay. I didn't mean to say that. But there are some things that we just got to say during this time. There are some things we've got to say. We've got to rectify. There are some things that we got to rectify. If hope and healing is to come, there's some honesty. There's some truths that we have got to face. And when I say face, I don't just mean, okay, no. I'm talking about that we have to go through the process of dealing with. There's some stinky stuff that we got to go through the process of dealing with. Hope and healing just isn't about hearing nice things or hearing easy things. No, sometimes the way to get healed is to expose the hurt. Listen, I had something. I don't know what they call it, maybe a cyst or something, but I had a cyst under my arm a couple years ago, and went to the doctor. You know, I had never had one before, and listen, yeah, I wanted it to go away. I wanted it to go away, but do you know what had to happen in order for it to go away? Like, they literally. Like, there was a hole in my arm, under my arm. There was a hole in my armpit. You know, they did, you know, local surgery, cut the thing, and then packed it with cotton and all this kind of stuff. And now, when they first did it, I didn't really feel it. No, they had me. Yeah, they had me feeling real nice. So I didn't really feel it the first time. And I think like a week or two later, the doctor gave me an appointment and said, okay, you got to come back because we're going to need to repack it. Okay, no problem. No problem, because I didn't really feel it the first time. I didn't feel it at all. I don't even remember it per se the first time. I know that it happened, but I don't remember any pain or any ache or anything, but I wanted to get better. And so he said, well, in order to get better, you have to come back. It was either like a week or two later so that they could repack it. Well, I did not hear him say, make sure you take Tylenol or some type of pain reliever before you come. I didn't hear that. I heard him say, come. And so I went. And oh my goodness. There was not enough anything for the pain that I felt. And after the procedure, right, he says, well, I told you to take some pain reliever. And I'm like, no, you didn't. But my point is, in order for me to get healed, I had to feel the hurt. And listen, I felt the hurt. Ooh, I felt the hurt. And it did not feel good. But I had to go through that process in order to get healed. I had to go through that process. I had to go through the hurt. And when I tell you I felt it, that is a feeling I don't ever want to feel again in my life. No. I will pass by. I will pass by on that one. But in order for me to get healed, yeah, I had to go back, allow them to take the stuff, the cotton from out of the hole that was in under my arm. Had to allow them to take that out. And I'm talking about, it was like every single nerve in my body was standing on end. And I could not grip anything. I could not grip. There was nothing that seemed like it could take what I was feeling away. I mean, I felt every twist, every turn. I mean, I felt it. But I had to go through it in order to get healed. I probably wanted to box that doctor or kick him or something. If I thought that would make the pain go away, I probably would have. But I had to go through that pain in order for the healing to continue. And so we're going to go through some stuff. We're going to go through some stuff. We can't push stuff under the rug and think that we're going to heal up that way. No, that's not how it works. You got to go back. Deal with that stuff. Take the old cotton out and put the new cotton in. That's foundation. That's foundation. Repentance, foundation, building on a clean slate. So what are some of the characteristics of leadership? Because we've talked about respect. And respect is not about what you call your husband. Respect is not about how you interact with him, your manners, or your mannerability. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about respect. We're talking about leadership, allowing him to lead because he was created to lead. You stay in behind him, not going out in front of him. Eve went out in front of Adam. Eve became Adam's leader. Adam was created to lead, but Eve became Adam's leader. So man was given leadership when he was created. And with that leadership came dominion, authority, and power. Respect is not about what I call my husband. It's not about what we call our husband. We can call him babe, we can call him honey, we can call him sugar, we can call him whatever we want to call him. But respect is not in what I call him per se, as in a name. It's not in what we call him per se as a name, as in what did his mama and daddy name him. It's what we call him in our actions. It's what we call him in our conversations. That speaks to the level of respect. That speaks to his leadership. Because what we call him also positions him. What we call him, and I don't mean, his name, his mom and daddy named him Harvey or, Joey or Lance. I don't mean the name that's on his birth certificate or the pet name that you may call him. I don't mean that. But what we call him out of our mouth with our actions positions him and determines where we are, where he is, in terms of respect and leadership. I want to give you some quick examples. So to call, whatever we call him, it's not by the title. It's by our actions and our words. Sometimes we call our husbands, I don't need you. Whenever we start taking matters into our own hands, that's exactly what we're calling our husband. His name might be Harvey, but you just called him, I don't need you. I don't need you. Remember, ego to a man is the same as emotions are to a woman. We call our husband, you're not good enough. Anytime we start comparing him to other people, other men, other relationships, other whatevers, comparing his salary to somebody else's salary, comparing what somebody else is doing or not doing compared to what he's doing versus what he's not doing, we're calling him, you're not good enough. Ego bruiser. Something else that we call our husbands, you're not my leader. Eve called Adam, you're not my leader, in the garden. And sometimes we call our husbands, you're not my leader. Whenever we give our ears to somebody else, we've just named our husband, you're not my leader. Or, I don't trust you. We call our husbands, I don't trust you, whenever we go behind him and undo what he's done. I don't trust you. Well, I just got to check up on it. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. What you call your husband, what we call our husbands, it's not based on the title. It's based on what we call him. You're not my priority is another name that we call our husbands. Whenever the cares of his needs are placed behind the cares and the needs of others, yeah, we are calling him, you're not my priority. You're not my priority. Ego, leadership, respect. Ego, leadership, respect. Now before we close out today, I just want to give a couple characteristics of good leadership. Good leadership. Something that good leadership does, good leadership always protects. Good leadership protects. Good leadership is built in security. Security is built into good leadership. Another characteristic of good leadership, plans. Leadership has vision. Leadership knows where leadership is going. And when leadership knows where leadership is going, leadership can take you not just where leadership is going, but leadership can take you where you need to go. Good leadership communicates. Unity happens in the space where there's no mind reading. Unity happens in the space where there's no mind reading. Communication. Communication. Communicate the vision. Communicate the vision. Good leadership sets up boundaries, guidelines, rules. You know, Joshua, as for me and my house. That's not the only rule, or that's not the only boundary, but good leadership always sets up boundaries. What do you think may have happened had boundaries been set with Eve? Leadership, good leadership, sees and understands worth. And good leadership knows that the cost of replacement, you can't even measure it. It's irreplaceable. And another characteristic of good leadership is good leadership delegates and assigns according to strengths. According to strengths. And what does that mean? That means, husband, listen. Yeah, you are created to lead. You were created to lead. But if you're not strong with numbers, or if you're not good with numbers, you don't have to be an expert. But if you're not good with numbers, you don't know how to balance the finances and all that kind of stuff, delegate and assign to strengths. So if you're not good with finances, or you're not good with numbers, you know, you're not good with keeping a tally on everything financially, then assign it to someone who is. Just because good leadership doesn't try to be the be-all, end-all and mess stuff up. No, good leadership assigns and delegates based on strengths. Guys, I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Love you all so much. And I just pray God's continued blessings on your life, your family, your marriages. And I will see you all. Well, I'm actually going to record day 25, part 2 of the respect portion. I'm going to go ahead and record that. and make that available. We've got to do it. We've got to get it right. You know, all this isn't this is not up to God. Every single thing that God is going to do, He's already done. It's time. We've got to take responsibility and be accountable. God is not. We have never waited on God. I know we say that all the time. I've said that myself too. We are never waiting on God. Well, I'm waiting on God to move. I'm waiting on God to fix my marriage. I'm waiting on God to fix my life. I'm waiting on... No. God has given us every single tool, every single every single thing we need to fix whatever is broken, whatever needs to be rebuilt, whatever needs to be replanted. God's not waiting to create that thing. No, it's already created. Now we have to take what He has done, apply, and I'll keep on applying what He's already made available to us. Accountability, responsibility. That's on us. In so many ways, that's on us. That is on us. Guys, I love you, and I will see you all for day 25.